Greetings, my future sources of income. Today we're going to be doing that thing that was popular like 4 years ago and create a bit of a tier list. Except it's not a tier list, because I am a liar. I will be taking you through my top 10 games of all of the games I have ever gamed. I will be ranking these from 10 to 1, 10 being the lowest and 1 being the highest. As a rule of thumb, to make it a little harder, I will not be including collections as one game, because that would be cheating. Be warned, there may or may not be any autistic tangent rambling throughout the video. So to steal yet another joke from another creator, let us begin. It was January of last year, 2023, and I kept hearing about how great Elden Ring was. Everyone on the internet said it was fantastic, some of my friends kept telling me to try it out, and for Christ's sake, it won Game of the Year. I had never touched a Souls game in my entire life by this point, and I barely even knew about From Software. But I had some spare funds and decided to cave. And what I got in return, wow. Look, it was a rough start, but after going down to Castle Morn and defeating Leonine Misbegotten, which I remember taking probably about an hour and a half, I was hooked. I then proceeded to beat the game one time and log 90 hours of playtime. I think that part speaks for itself. Alright, I'm an Xbox guy, so it really shouldn't be a surprise that at least one Gears of War game is on this list. I specifically chose this one because I think it's the best Gears of War game by far. Say what you will about the first game's captivating and unmatched atmosphere, or the absolute grand bombastic scale of 2, but I think 3 just has the perfect balance of everything that made the series what it was up to that point. I think it delivers the best story, the most refined gameplay, and manages to retain the Gears of War tone while escaping the drab and gray color palette the series had had. It's the one game in the series that I can always just go back to when I want to scratch that itch to play Gears, and it will never ever be topped by another Gears of War game. Also, unsurprisingly, Halo. I know it's very bold of me to put this up here. I have a bit of a weird history with this game in particular. I didn't grow up with Halo like a lot of people did, and it even wasn't even my first Halo game. I didn't even become a Halo fan until 2011. I didn't even play Combat Evolved until 2014 with Rise of the MCC. And even then, I didn't pay much attention to the game until 2020. So why is it up here? Obviously, the campaign is a timeless masterpiece, no doubt about it. But for me, oh, the multiplayer absolutely fucks, bro. Something about it, it just clicks with me. I love it. Such a low barrier to entry, but with such a high skill ceiling. Its simplicity is its greatest strength, and I could just play it for hours. Dude, I load up Custom Edition to this day from time to time just to kill some time and play Halo Combat Evolved. Yeah, Custom Edition. Like 20 people play that game. I am one of them. And I did Taj Combat Evolved for a little bit. For the few that were there for that. I was kind of nasty. There are very, very few games that I can play just one time and then have them live in my head rent-free. Signalis is one of those games. The last time I played this game was November 8th, 2022, according to Steam, but I can't stop thinking about it. I mean, I went ahead to play it to get B-roll for this video the other day, and I played a lot longer than I thought I was going to. I was there for just to get like 30 minutes of B-roll, and I spent like 2 hours on the game. I can't stop thinking about it. It's a damn masterpiece. The combat loop is fantastic, the puzzles are intuitive, and this game actually had me pull out a notebook and a pencil to write stuff down. Do you remember the last time that a game had you do that? Because, for me, I don't. But above that, the presentation of the game is absolutely breathtaking, and despite being a top-down game, it does an immaculate job of immersing you into the world and making it feel like a real place. The narrative itself is also just... Jesus, it is so good. The themes it presents and how it presents them are second to none. This was one of those games where I beat it and the credits rolled, and I just stared at the screen for minutes on end, just trying to process everything that just happened. It still crosses my mind from time to time, and it does just live somewhere in my head rent-free. Alright, I'm going to refer to this game just as Perry for short, because I'm not Polish and I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce this the correct way, because I will get it wrong. So back in 2022, I stumbled upon this Steam page in my recommended Steam games, and seeing the artwork, it piqued my interest. You know, indie developer plus anime woman plus guns, usually a good sign for a solid game. So I downloaded the free demo and I got to it. About 6 hours later, I beat it, and my first thought was, I want more. So I started playing the game again, almost immediately, but choosing a different story route. It's an immersive sim where you play as a mercenary. You get to pick what side you fight for, or you just do whatever the hell you want. Look, the weapons, the music, the sound design, the levels, the enemies, all of it makes this game feel like such a real and lived-in world, despite the fact that it looks like a fucking PS2 game and it's made on Unity. It's you know, it's made by Polish developers. This game, for all intents and purposes, is Slav jank, but we mean that endearingly. Like, it's good Slav jank. We like it. So, its demo actually got updated a couple months ago, and instead of being the 3 levels that it used to be, now it's just one really big level, but it has more to do in it. And it's a hell of a lot more polished than the last demo. Although there are still definitely ways that you can tell it's still a little janky. I don't know if this is an intended mechanic in the game or not, but you can just kind of negate fall damage by falling and then hitting spacebar right before you hit the ground. It's like that meme of the troll falling out of the plane, sitting on a chair, and he just jumps off the chair before he hits the ground. That's exactly what this feels like. So I have over 20 hours logged on just demos that take maybe 2 to 3 hours to beat. So I think that should tell you everything. And I'm also subscribed to their Patreon just to show how much I love this game. It's not even out yet fully, but oh my god, I'm just frothing at the mouth waiting for the full release of this game. And before we get into the actual top 5 on this list, I'm gonna go ahead and give an honorable mention because this game kicks a lot of ass. I just couldn't justify a top 10 spot for it, but it does deserve to be praised. So this is a Half-Life 2 mod that is technically a standalone game that you can download for free on Steam. For free! I've gone through this game a couple times and it never gets old. It's everything that's good about Half-Life 2, but from a different point of view. You play as a Combine Elite, and you fight rebels, the same people that you're actually helping out in Half-Life 2. Now, not only is this POV change welcome, but the game adds in a whole bunch of stuff that Half-Life 2 didn't have. The MP5K, jump pack enemies, an infinite ammo Gauss pistol, and a Combine Advisor boss fight. Yeah, that's badass. The main character has his own personality too, and some pretty funny quips from time to time.
Surprised these idiots can play poker. You guys can't tell, but I have a mean poker face.
The voice acting is actually really good for a mod. And the combat, oh my god, the combat. The combat has been perfected. It is literally Half-Life 2 combat, but at its peak. It's so good. Like, I don't think I've ever enjoyed the combat loop of a Half-Life game or mod this much. The closest it can get is like the original Half-Life, but this just does it for me. Anyways, it's free. Go play it right now. Oh My goodness gracious, mamma mia, it's the divisive one. So I love this game so goddamn much. While this wasn't my first Halo game, it was my proper introduction to the series and even to Xbox Live. Yeah, the multiplayer is just so good. And before anybody goes, oh, but the bloom, oh, the bloom. Yeah, I know it was a problem. Guess what? I don't give a shit. While you were all whining about bloom and playing Slayer and SWAT, ugh, SWAT, scum of the earth, I was playing Invasion, Action Sack, countless custom games, Juggernaut and Infection. I was playing social modes and having some of the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. Not to mention the countless hours that I spent in Forge too. I bought a lot of racetracks back in the day that I no longer have access to. Now, as for the campaign, I will admit, it has its flaws. Mostly in some of the levels, just kind of being open fields with enemies. I get that. But at the very least, you get the tools to still fight the enemies. There is still cover, you get different weapons. It could be worse, it's not that bad. The only level I have even like a slightly negative opinion of is probably Long Night of Solace. And the mission really isn't even that bad unless you're on Legendary, in which case it is bad. As for the narrative, God, it's so good. Dude, you're on the back foot, and you really feel that after, spoilers for a 14-year-old game, George fucking dies, and then you learn his sacrifice was mostly for nothing. It absolutely nails atmosphere and tone to perfection, and anyone that says, Halo Reach's story is bad, incorrect loud buzzer sound. Did we play the same game? Like, you can say you don't like it, but to say that it's bad is objectively wrong. Blood has never heard of a setting-focused story in his life. And even though it's setting-focused and we get little time with the characters, we get more than enough to ascertain their roles and personalities all from the first mission. Hell, the first cutscene alone tells you everything you need to know. If you can't tell, I am very passionate about this game and I will defend it until I die. If you don't like Halo Reach, consider removing yourself from this earth. Oh, yes, dude! This game is the bomb! Where do I begin? From start to finish, I was infatuated with this game in a way that could be unhealthy, which is a common trend with the games on this list. The opening of the game is absolute peak, just Kino. I will take zero objections to this. With all the abilities you have access to, the world is literally your playground. You can upgrade all the human abilities and you can run around with a shotgun like it's Doom, or you can use the Typhon powers, play a little smarter. He turned into a coffee mug. It was the funniest shit I ever saw. With the exception of a couple optional areas, you have several ways to tackle a problem, whether it be hacking the door, using the morph ability to go into a tight space, using leverage to move obstacles, using explosives or recycling charges to remove the obstacles, or even using a fucking Nerf gun to interact with a button to open the door from the inside. It's absolutely incredible. There are several enemy types with their own weaknesses and immunities, and it really makes you think about most encounters. And just with the door examples I was giving, you got more options when it comes to enemies. You could distract them with the sound and sneak around them. Just start blasting. Stun them differently again, send them to hell, and even mind control them to fight for you. This game is deep, okay? And speaking of deep, the story. There is a lot going on here. I'd say it's one of the best stories ever written, and it presents deeper themes of what it means to be human and all that philosophical shit that I'm not mentally qualified to talk about. It's not super expensive, it goes on sale often, it's well worth your time. A normal playthrough is like 20 hours. So yeah, good game. It's cult classic for a reason. Go play it right now. I just want to preface that if the remake never came out, then the original 2008 Dead Space would be in this spot. Now, I know pre-ordering is bad for the industry, but I have to admit, when I heard there was a remake for Dead Space coming out and I saw the collector's edition, I caved. Forgive me, for I have sinned. You can ask any of my friends how much I absolutely adore this game. I cut myself off from all interaction for almost an entire month just to play this game. To say that I was excited was an understatement. It is literally everything good about the original and then cranked up to 20. The combat feels more responsive while still being intentionally clunky. The level design is now much more open, and it treats the whole ship as one big level with, like interconnected level design and like a little quote unquote hub, which I just call the train the hub. It's so fucking cool. And there were several quality of life features that were added to the game from other entries that don't feel out of place. They made Isaac a voiced protagonist, which makes a lot more sense. He is the engineer. He is the one who should be calling the shots when it comes to repairing the ship. That is his whole reason for being there. And oh my god, dude, the graphics of this game are fucking beautiful. Like, I don't think it gets better than this, okay? I really don't think it gets better than this. This game outdoes PlayStation exclusives, although that's not hard because there's like 2 of them. And the necromorphs are made even more disgusting compared to their 2008 counterparts. And it just really sells the idea of these like flesh amalgamation monsters. And it goes without saying, of course the game nailed the atmosphere. It's fucking Dead Space. I am an absolute Dead Space fanboy, and I really hope we get a remake for the second game, although it's probably not going to happen. Obviously, you all saw this one coming. Of course, this was going to be on the list somewhere. From watching that reveal trailer back in February last year, I was hooked. I never even played Armored Core before. I never heard of Armored Core before. But it didn't matter. This is the coolest shit I had ever seen. I watched this trailer 15 fucking times in a week. In a week! I didn't even get my hands on it until Christmas. And I didn't even get to playing it until January earlier this year. But my god, was that some of the best time I have ever spent on a game. There was a super steep learning curve, which at this point I was now accustomed to after spending 90 hours on Elden Ring. The first boss did not filter me out, although I was there for a little bit. And then as soon as I got past Balteus, that was it. I was in too deep. I played nothing but Armored Core 6 for weeks. And when I finally beat Air for the first time, first thing I did, I hit continue immediately, and I went for the other ending. After that, I went for the third ending immediately, because it was just that batshit insane. This game's fucking awesome. The combat loop is phenomenal. I cannot get enough of it. So much so that after beating the third ending for the first time, and getting lost in the credits and letting everything taking over me and comprehending what I just played again, I immediately hit new game, started a fresh save file, and beat all 3 endings again. Then I got it on PC, and I did the whole process again! And since then, I've beaten the game 9 times, and I've also S-ranked every single mission, because it's fun. Not to mention, this game is literally the entire reason I started up this second YouTube channel, and I have a fan base. So you could say this game was literally a life-changing experience for me. Not a single game on the market can scratch the same itch as Armored Core 6. Not even remotely close. Not even the other Armored Core games. At this point, I've played 4 and I've played Verdict Day. Wildly different. Some of y'all saw this coming from a mile away. I am a very easy person to read, okay? Halo 3 motherfucking ODST. You do not understand how much I love this game. You don't. You simply do not. You never will. And you can't. You cannot comprehend how much I love this game. Look at all of the ODST related memorabilia that I have. Look at it. Look at it. The ODSTs are my absolute favorite faction in all of Halo. So it should come as no surprise that this game is my number 1. I even made a 6-week labor of love video that nobody watched because this game means so much to me. It's a toned down story, it's different from the grand scale seen in the original trilogy, and because of that, it's more human, down to earth, grounded. Get it? Like the earth, like the ground. It's just you and your team trying to regroup after being separated due to events out of your control. It's a story about surviving, living to fight another day. All the characters in the squad are replacements, as stated by Dare in the beginning of the game, showing how bad of a position the UNSC is currently in. Within the opening cutscene, we already know almost everything about these characters, and we understand what's currently happening in the world. It's probably one of the best openings in gaming. The combat is more tense, because while you can take squads of enemies by yourself, on higher difficulties, it's not going to be that easy. You are weaker, and despite still being able to carry turrets and backsmack enemies to death, this game does an incredible job at selling the premise to you. Like, visually, you seem weaker. You feel weaker, even though you're technically not. Now, NMPD HQ, great example of some of the things I've talked about. You go through the entire Mombasa police headquarters to regroup with Mickey and Dutch, who just crashed their Pelican nearby. When you get to them, you get all these missile pods, turrets, rockets, Spartan lasers, but it isn't a power fantasy moment. You are holding out. You're fighting for survival. You are not in control here. You are backed into a corner. All that comes to a head when the closing cutscene plays, and a single chieftain reminds you all how very human you are. This is a game that I can always come back to and play no matter what. I will never, ever forget this game. Also, Nathan Fillion and a good chunk of the Firefly cast are in it, and that's badass. So, there you have it. My top 10 favorite games of all time. Of course, with a couple tangents thrown in, because staying on topic is very hard for me. I have too much to say. I'm a D1 yapper. If you made it this far, thanks for hearing me out. More to come in the future, like the next actual video, because I know, like, 20 of you are gonna watch this, because no one wants to listen to the white man gush about his favorite video games. I'd like to make more videos in this format in the future, talking about things that I'm passionate about, because it makes me happy, and this is my channel, so I'm gonna do what I want, and you can't stop me. The only thing that's going to stop me is monetary incentive. Anyways, that's all for this one, so I'll see you guys when the next real video comes out.